Mr. Lopes, thank you so much for joining me at the African Development Bank Summit. You were just speaking on a panel that was discussing the aftermath of the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. Do you think enough is being done to mitigate the economic consequences of what happened during the pandemic?
Well, I think there is a lot of goodwill. A lot of announcements have been made, but I think there is a bit of a cacophony between the different types of interventions. The three governments concerned have come up with their own plan. They are calling it the Marshall Plan for the Mano River states. They costed it. It's quite ambitious, and it's a bit long-term in its ambition. Then you have the UN-led process. You have an initiative by the World Bank and the African Development Bank. There are a number of initiatives from the private sector that will be announced in the World Economic Forum in Cape Town. So I can see already the beginnings of lack of coordination between these different initiatives. As far as I can see, we still are not tackling some of the structural problems that were associated with lack of response in the first place, that have to do with the fact that these countries, of course, they are considered to have weak institutions. But beyond just that obvious point, I think what is really important to say is that the little they have was partially lost during the response. About 530 people from the medical sector have died. Many others were affected. So the reconstitution of the little that already existed is already quite a challenge, let alone upgrading the capacity and also absorbing, because this absorptive capacity is not often discussed, absorbing all the equipment and processes that have been put in place that are contributing for layers of complexity in the health system. And I think we are not zeroing in on this particular issue. Then you have the second issue, which is debt. For us, the macroeconomic situation of these countries needs an uplift, and that uplift can come with debt relief. IMF has responded very quickly. We're very encouraged. But I think a lot of other countries have a lot to do. After all, we are talking about $3 billion of debt. The announcements that have been made are in the scale of 5 to 6 billion. Disbursements effectively done are on the scale of about 2.5 billion. So the gap just between the two offers immense opportunities for a real structural debt relief program, which is the best injection we can give for this country's macroeconomic situation that has been deteriorated to the limit, as we know.
Thank you very much. I also want to ask, because we're at the AfDB and they're about to have presidential elections, what do you think the priorities and the challenges that will confront the next president will be? What do you think he'll have to tackle first?
I think we are at a very different moment from 10 years ago when the last elections took place. Right now, we are not discussing the AAA rating of the bank. We are not discussing capitalization of the bank. There's been quite a significant improvement of the availability of capital to the bank, including from alternative type of sources like the latest Chinese initiative with the bank. So the challenge for this new president is, on one hand, to maintain this momentum, and maintaining this momentum means having a very important role to play in defining what structural transformation means for Africa. You know, the issue of industrialization, and the role of the bank is more on the infrastructure side of it. The issue of agricultural productivity, and also, I would say, how to take advantage of the foreign direct investment drive increasing in the direction of the continent, to capitalize on better relations between a development financing institution and private sector capital investments. And I think the bank has just started that journey, and the new president will have a big challenge to make it happen.
Mr. Lopes, thank you so much.